I think in order to grow, we have to reach out and talk to people who have different viewpoints than us. And so I went from having a very focused strategy of talking to, using social media and reaching out in a very controlled way to specific outlets, whereas now I think I'm just going to talk to everybody. Go as far and wide as I can, reach as many people everywhere possible.
New year, new strategy. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is changing the way he approaches media, as you can hear there, telling former news anchor Peter Mansbridge on his podcast, The Bridge, that he's now trying to talk to as many people as possible instead of limiting his interviews or conversations to people he agrees with. He also spoke of mutual respect with the Prime Minister and said an election before reviewing CUSMA is something explicitly that he would like to avoid. Back with me to talk about that is our front bench, Brian Gallant, Lisa Raitt, Tom Mulcair, and Rob Benzie. Let's start at the beginning of all of that, Lisa, and just the sort of frankness with which Mr. Poilievre addressed like a change in strategy, who he is going to be talking to, and a desire to stop doing things the way that he was. What did you make of that?
I'm feeling a little self-conscious because I actually moderated his interview last week here in Toronto for a lunch, and I'm wondering, am I part of that strategy? Am I one of the ones you wouldn't have talked to before? I don't know. I will tell you.
I think it's the business crowd, Lisa.
I thought it was, I had a great conversation with him, and I think that the room really enjoyed it. I think more people who hear from him, the better, quite frankly, because they're going to be able to hear from himself as opposed to hearing what other people say about him. And that means there's no third party to blame anymore. It's all about you. So he's putting himself right directly in the line of fire, and for good or for bad. What I find really interesting, though, is his tack with respect to the Prime Minister, saying that he wants to work with him, and I think that works better for everybody. I look at my friend Tom Mulcair sitting on this panel right now. As much as he drove us bananas in the House of Commons, he was always there to help Prime Minister Harper through some difficult times as well, as did Jack Layton. So there are really good reasons why this can possibly work at this point in time, and I'm glad that everyone's saying we don't need an election right now.
Yeah, for how long, I suppose, is the question. Tom, what did you think about the leader of the opposition talking about this new strategy, and also how will you assess whether or not it works?
Whether or not it continues, because he's on the right track. I don't think that there's a single person on this panel, including you, Vashti, who has not hinted that maybe it would be a good idea for him to talk to other people than dyed-in-the-wool conservatives or people who are like-minded. It's the essence of politics. You're always seeking to add. You're always seeking to grow, and you don't want to divide and subtract. And Mr. Poilievre was the great subtractor, and now he's gotten the message that it's about time he started adding. His base is not going to hold it against him, the fact that he had an interview with Peter Mansbridge. Some of them might roll their eyes, but they're all going to vote for him anyway. But there might be other Canadians saying, well, it's the first time I've actually listened to this guy Poilievre, because he's not snarling and he's not being snappy and repeating his list of recriminations. He's talking to me like a normal person. And so I think that it's going to serve Poilievre very well. And I think, I know it sounds churlish to say it, but it goes into the category, well, it's high time. But I think it's going to be successful. I'm with Lisa on this. He's got stuff to say. He's got to break with those patterns of the past that were learned in the school of hard knocks of being a backbencher and then being an opposition. So yes, it is stuff that you pick up. But if he wants to be prime ministerial, then he's got to be the person we just saw there speaking with Mansbridge, or the person at last week's speech with the Economic Club. I mean, it was strong. You could sense that it were his ideas. He had worked on them in his own way. Some of it was aspirational. You could knock it one way or the other, but at least it wasn't that rat-a-tat-tat drumbeat of constantly knocking. There were some ideas in there that could be built upon. I think that that's the Poilievre that might break through a lot more with the voting public than he's been able to do up until now.
Liberals behind the scenes, Benzie, are all telling us it's too little, too late. What do you think about that?
Well, they would say that, wouldn't they, Vashti? I mean, I think that it's a testament to Steve Outhouse, the new campaign guru around Mr. Poilievre. And I think it's also a recognition, frankly, that it was a year ago and a week ago, I guess it's a year ago next Monday, that Mark Carney became Liberal leader and then became Prime Minister after that. That year has been a really big learning thing for Mr. Poilievre, because his campaign strategy, candidly, I know I have a self-interest in this because I am a journalist, but I thought his campaign strategy in dealing with the media in the 2025 election was the dumbest that I have ever seen. 4 questions a day, didn't allow reporters on the campaign plane, which we pay for. This is not a holiday, or a junket. We paid $1,500 a day or whatever to be on those planes, and they didn't allow that. And then they controlled the narrative, or tried to control the narrative, and who could ask questions. They penned off reporters, treated them like they were goats or something at these events that hardly anyone covered, because there was nothing to report, and he was boasting about his rallies and offending journalists who asked him about his rallies. I mean, I thought their media strategy was so incredibly moronic last time that, I mean, I'm impressed that they managed to still garner 41% of the vote, because they blew a 28 percentage point lead from January 1st till April 28th, and still eked out a respectable 41%. So good for Mr. Poilievre for saying it was time to make some changes, and I think he's walking the walk now, not just talking the talk. So good for him.
As usual, very difficult to discern what exactly Benzie thinks about all of this. Brian, your thoughts on how that, on the strategy being employed and whether it'll work?
I would agree with my colleagues. I think the interview was great, and we've alluded to this, as Tom mentioned, several times on this panel. If he would do more of that, I think it would be to his benefit, and if he would have done more of that, as Benzie's pointing out, whether through media and through these types of channels before the election, maybe it would have helped. Now, I think we all can sympathize with the idea there was a lot of factors for the Conservative campaign that were not in their control that was happening in the last election, but nevertheless, this would have helped. What I find really fascinating, I have to say, is when I listened to the interview, it kind of dawned on me that, as Lisa pointed out, there is definitely an argument that this is a time that requires parties to come together, and that's beautiful, that's great, that's strategic, all these very nice positive things. If we were, as we sometimes do on this panel, were to be cynical, you could argue, because I was thinking about it from a political point of view, you could argue that the idea of really trying to be as cooperative as possible, collaborate to ensure there's no election until CUSMA comes to a conclusion, whether that's the renewal, whether it blows up, or something in between, it could make sense politically, because if it is a bad deal in the eyes of the Canadian public, that certainly would bolster the Conservative campaign in the next election. If it is okay or good, then you can certainly have the conservatives take a bit of a sigh of relief to say, okay, well, maybe it's good, but it's done. And the last election was certainly one that people were thinking about who should deal with Trump, and they chose Carney. So maybe if we can move on from that, we can then get people to think about affordability, crime, and other things that they tend to do a bit better on. So from a political point of view, maybe the way in which they're acting can also buy them some time, ensure there's not an election in the near future, and try to get on the other side of CUSMA.
I wonder, though, Lisa, like how difficult that politically could be eventually for the Liberals. Like, part of the reason they may go to the electorate is around CUSMA, right? Like, again, asking the question, who is best suited? It will be hard if they continue to be 10 and 15 points ahead of the Conservatives, and particularly Mr. Carney so far ahead of Mr. Poilievre in the personal category, like, to turn away from what they may view as an opportunity there.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. But they have to be careful, because you don't guarantee what you're going to get out at the end of the day. We've had 8 elections. 6 of them have been minorities. Canadians are very comfortable with that notion. So if they can vote in that way, they're going to vote in that way. And they make it a little bit ticked off that we're going to take a 6-week break in order to have some kind of an election when we've got a lot going on in the world. So Pierre's saying it's not going to be me. We're not the ones who are going to be going to an election. Actually, does wedge the Liberal Party. And I'm saying the Liberal Party, not the government. There are 2 different things there, because I don't think that Mark Carney in this government necessarily wants to go to an election, but I can see the Liberal Party seeing it as an advantage and taking it as such. And I'd add one more thing on a totally different topic, if I could, Vashi. Pierre Poilievre's over in London right now, which is an incredibly important expat place of votes and influence, and he's getting some good press coverage there. So when he says he's going everywhere, he is going everywhere.
Just like I'd love the Prime Minister to take questions, I would also love Mr. Poilievre to provide us with the list of people that he's meeting with, because we asked and we did not receive in response. I'll leave it there. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate our front bench. As always, Brian Gallant, Lisa Raitt, Tom Mulcair, and Rob Benzie.